The number one cry I hear in the fandom is for Mattel to get rid of Thomas. Their lack of care for the brand and cost cutting has left the franchise with all engines go. So, when you think about it, is it time to sell Thomas? Should he move on from Mattel? And if so, where should he go? AKA, who should own the brand? Well, this video will go over whether something should happen or not, and list a few candidates for whom might own the franchise in the future as we go. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hold on! You're going to talk about Mattel cost cutting without me?
What? No. Wait, how are you not dead?
I was in your Q&A, remember?
Oh, right. Anyways, no, Jaden, I'm not going to talk about cost cutting. Though, actually, while you're here, this video has a lot to tackle. So, could you join me for it?
Sure, I'm down.
Awesome. The ever-famous The Wooden Wilbur will be joining me today to talk about Thomas's predicament. So now, let's get started. First, we need to talk about Mattel's crimes. I'll let Jaden do it since he's such an expert.
Oh, wait, me first? Alright, well, where do I even begin? Mattel, as most Thomas fans already know, has, well, not treated the franchise all that kindly. In 2011, when Mattel first bought Hit Entertainment, they had pretty bold and respectable plans. They wanted to turn the whole ship, train, around, considering how Hit had led the series straight into the near universally disliked Nitrogen era. Starting in 2013 with King of the Railway, Mattel introduced a new team of writers and producers, kicking off a new era for the show lovingly known as the Renaissance, named after Andrew Brenner, the lead behind the new changes and the well-liked new seasons, which were thought of as a renaissance of sorts.
Jaden, I asked you to talk about Mattel's crimes?
Oh, right. Well, throughout the Brenner era, Mattel began to tighten its grip on the showrunners more and more. They started to include more stunts, like in The Great Race when Thomas jumps the bridge, just for the purpose of creating gimmicky toys. This continued until 2018, when Mattel decided to reboot the show to appeal more toward international audiences. The plan for this was Big World Big Adventures, a rebrand which saw Thomas voyaging to foreign lands. The special and the 3 seasons that followed were, well, loathed by the fanbase as a whole. When that attempt at a reboot inevitably failed, instead of returning to the more successful show of the past, they instead rebooted it to a near unrecognizable degree, this time bringing in 2D animation, and a new show known as All Engines Go. Whether you like AEG or despise it, there's one thing that's apparent regardless. It has not performed well and is pretty universally viewed as a poor move by Mattel. On top of that, Mattel has done more than just screw over the show. They've screwed over the merch too. Time and time again, Thomas has proved to make substantially more money from merchandise sales than from the show itself. And considering that Mattel is literally a toy company, this should theoretically be the easiest part for them. But no, they completely botched this too. Just look at Thomas Wooden Railway. Before Mattel took over, TWR was incredibly successful. But almost immediately, they began to cut costs by swapping wood for plastic. This continued more and more, and then they began to shrink face sizes to cut costs as well. This culminated with the relaunch Thomas Wood, which was detested by fans and parents alike. Go check out my video on it! And ultimately flopped terrifically, resulting in the all but complete destruction of Thomas Wooden Railway, save for a 2022 relaunch that only saw minor success. Similar stories can be seen with other Thomas merch ranges such as Trackmaster and Take and Play. With Trackmaster, Mattel, of course prioritizing toys, introduced countless gimmicky and senseless stunt sets, and with Take and Play, well, remember Adventures and Push Along? Yeah, I don't either. Overall, Mattel, time and time again, has proved itself to jump on rebrands too soon and execute them when they're nothing more than poorly thought out ideas. Back to you, Tidmouth.
Thanks for the history lesson. That took way too long. Now, let's get on with replacements for Thomas's owners. The first and biggest company I see get talked about constantly as new owners is Hasbro. This toy giant does much better than Mattel financially and is a huge game changer in the toy industry. They own such properties as My Little Pony, Transformers, Monopoly, Play-Doh, Peppa Pig, and have produced toys for brands like Paw Patrol, Star Wars, and Bob the Builder. They are well known for constantly pushing the industry bar. The 2007 Transformers movie influenced lots of companies to start producing movies based on their popular toy franchises, including Hit Entertainment, who began producing The Adventures of Thomas. In fact, Hasbro almost got their hands on Hit Entertainment, back when it was put for sale. However, in my opinion, Hasbro is a toy company. They would want to focus on Thomas as a toy brand and most likely make crazy stunt sets, just like Mattel did. Fans of Hasbro are saying that they should stop making toys and just make movies. This is mostly complaints from Transformers fans, but their recent Transformers film, while pleasing fans, did horribly at the box office. Compared to Mattel, I also feel like I see more negative press about them, mostly about their stock. So, while Hasbro is a good owner, I feel like they would treat Thomas like a toy, something Mattel already does.
I too think that Hasbro wouldn't be great for Thomas, at least any more so than Mattel. Along with the points Sid Myth already outlined, I think it's worth noting that Hasbro too is known for its reboots, so speculatively, Hasbro and Mattel's vision for Thomas likely would have been about the same. Furthermore, I doubt Hasbro would even want Thomas at this point, considering how badly it's floundering in Mattel's hands. Overall, I don't think that Hasbro wants to be, nor should be, the owners of Thomas.
The next company fit to own Thomas is Disney. They have over 100 years of history and own multiple popular franchises. Everyone knows what Disney is. Disney, like Hasbro, also nearly buy entertainment. But are they good owners for Thomas? Not one chance. Why? Well, it's Disney. Thomas would just become another one of its multiple iconic brands. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Yes, but no. Sure, Disney has the money to bring back the original series, and definitely has the money to bring back the model series, but they definitely wouldn't do that. I'm sure Disney would just see Thomas as one of its many brands that it owns, and barely pump out new content for it. They would probably just focus their attention to more of their successful brands like Marvel and Star Wars, in which they make billions off of. So basically, I think Disney would just let Thomas fall into obscurity.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Frankly, I think Disney is by far the least likely to purchase Thomas, unless they acquire it by buying the entirety of Mattel, though I doubt the courts would like that very much. Disney just has larger prospects. They wouldn't care at all about a random children's property that isn't even popular anymore. Sure, they could revitalize it themselves, but I'm sure they'd do that as more effort than it's worth. Overall, Disney simply isn't the right fit for Thomas.
The next company isn't actually a company, rather an idea I saw on Twitter a while back. What if Thomas was owned by an indie studio? What is an indie studio, you might ask? Well, indie studios usually produce products by independent developers. Great examples of this are Glitch Productions, home to the Amazing Digital Circus, Studio MDHR's Cuphead, both a game and a show, and developer Toby Fox and his Undertale franchise. Basically, people suggest that Thomas should be bought by an indie studio, as they can listen to fans easily and make what they want. People also suggested that episodes come out every 2 weeks to make up for 26 episodes a year. However, there are multiple problems with this. For one, how would an indie studio even get Thomas, a billion-dollar empire? And second, they would need a lot of funds to be able to make the series. Of course, that's easy. Sell merch. Thomas fans love good merch. But it wouldn't be anything like Trackmaster and Wooden Railway, mostly plushies and stickers. The buying part is the biggest problem, and I also hope Thomas stays with a big corporation as they can fund it.
Yeah, as much as I as a fan would love it, there's no way Thomas is ending up in the hands of an indie studio anytime soon. The cost is just too high. Even if they were somehow able to obtain it, I see little possibility for them to remain successful and profitable with it. The production value required for a show would likely be rather high, and if previous owners were able to supplement that cost with merchandise sales, I doubt an indie studio would have as much luck with that. Perhaps they could talk to a toy company about licensing, but then wouldn't we just have the Mattel situation all over again? All in all, while the idea of an indie studio owning Thomas sounds incredible, it unfortunately just doesn't seem very realistic.
The final company I'd like to talk about is Sony Creative Products. This has a random pick, but one that makes a lot more sense in the long run. Sony Creative Products has distributed Thomas since 1991, after being contracted to do so by the Brit Allcraft Company. In 2008, they took over as the main distributor of production and broadcast rights, and if you live in Japan, you have to go through them to talk about licensing products. So, why does this make sense? Well, Japan loves Thomas. Ever since the show was introduced to the country, Japan has put so much effort into it. Think about toy lines like Playrail, Bandai Tex, and Nakayoshi, how high quality they are. And things like how the Japanese dub had its own voice cast from the very beginning, and how they approved of many real-life steam engines turning into Thomas characters on the Oigawa Railway. The very first Thomas theme park was at Fuji-Q Highlands, a Japanese theme park. Even Cool Props, the maker of the official Thomas prop replica, is based in Japan. And of course, the Hara Model Railway Museum houses many of the props. In short, Japan loves Thomas, and it feels like they treat it as their own. So what better than to allow Sony to own Thomas? They have experience too. They also seem to be able to cater to the adult fans too by putting on special events for them, akin to the Northwestern Maulers fan group here in the States. While I don't see them bringing back the model series, I feel that they can do a lot for Thomas and give it a show that helps it stand out. In my opinion, if the brand is put up for sale, they are the correct people to get their hands on him.
In all fairness, just because the company is based in Japan, a country wherein Thomas has been very successful, doesn't necessarily make it a good choice. However, Tidmouth did make a strong point about how the Sony Creative Products has actually distributed Thomas for a substantial amount of time. However, Sony Creative Products isn't a toy making or production company, it's an IP management company. While Sony as a whole is responsible for a number of productions, such as those from Sony Pictures Animation, which has been on a roll with the Spider-Verse films and the Mitchells vs. the Machines, they're based in Ocean Away in California. In addition, for the entire Sony Corporation, I doubt they'd have much interest in a franchise that one of the lower level subdivisions maintains the licensing for. Overall, while Sony as a whole does seem like it could be a good opportunity for Thomas, I'm just not sure that it's all that viable.
Everyone to their own. I think the simple solution for this is that Sony can contract toy companies to produce toys for them, like Mattel and Hasbro. That's what they do for Spider-Verse figures. But even after all this talk about new companies, I honestly think Thomas should stay with Mattel. So wait, was all of this for nothing? No, I think it's good that there is a backup plan for Thomas at this point. But still, why would Mattel want to get rid of Thomas anyway? For one, it's a good look for the company. Thomas to them is a legacy brand. Of course, Barbie and Hot Wheels also have a large legacy, but nothing like the little blue tank engine. Second, they can do good. That's right, Mattel can turn this brand around and make it something great again. How is this possible? First, make Thomas different and stand out, not stupid kid slop that makes it blend in with all the other brain rot kids watch these days. That is how Thomas stayed alive all this time. Second, make the toys like you have with All Engines Go. Start to make the train sets. And while I'm not looking for insanely accurate Thomas toys, I'm definitely not opposed to it. At the end of the day, it's clear to me that if Mattel made and marketed the simple train sets they make nowadays using the classic show, they may have seen more from their sales. In even more basic terms, Thomas is a train and not an airplane. Nor an elephant. And they could change how the public views Thomas with this new movie. But it will be a little while longer before then. Anyways, that's all I have to talk about for the brand today. I want to give a huge shout out to Jaden, aka the Wooden Wilbur, for joining me in this video. Go subscribe to him, and check out his essay videos too. His Hidden Gems of Season 7 one is a personal recommendation. And what do you think? Should Thomas be sold to a new company? If so, who do you think should own him? Sound off in the comments below. And with that, that'll be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.